Yeah. Who else do you think is in that mix, Patrick? Because we've seen a lot of Big Ten games so far this season. On Friday night, Maryland took down Illinois in their own building in one of the better games that we've seen so far this season. Purdue has looked unbelievable so far this year. So how do you see the top of the Big Ten shaking out? Because I think that is I would say probably the most competitive league race, because I think there's a lot of really good teams. I don't know if there is a great team, and there's no one that I'm going to sit here and plant my flag in the ground right now.
Like Purdue? You don't like Purdue being a great team right now?
I think that Purdue is very, very good right now. And I think a lot of that is because Matt Painter has these guys ready to play. And I don't think people were necessarily expecting how good their guards are going to end up being. I want to see what happens as teams kind of figure out, okay, you can pull Zach Edey away from the basket. Okay, let's get him running up and down the floor. Let's get him having to defend ball screen actions and tire him out. I think that there's a way that you can beat them. And I also think that their really impressive wins over Duke and Gonzaga are significantly less impressive than the rankings would say that they were right now. I think that's a different conversation to have about Duke and Gonzaga, but I think both of those teams are like borderline top 25 right now, as opposed to top 10.
Well, I think the formula for having a great team that's going to make a run is obviously a dominant big man. The ball is going to touch the paint, and then have a point guard that's going to take care of the ball. I loved how Braden Smith in that Florida State game, they just had such a great two-man game. Just finding, he did such a great job finding Zach Edey. He has such great hands. I mean, goodness gracious. I definitely would have had problems trying to guard this guy, because
let me how do you played basketball as a 5-man at a high level? What do you do with a guy that big? Like, how do you guard him?
Man, you
send up a couple Hail Marys and just say, I hope he misses.
Well, the issue is with him is that he has such great touch with a longer, more range on his hook shot. So the idea with a guy that big, zero chance if he seals you under the basket, as we know. So you fight, you're not going to front him. You're going to try to get him off the block as best you can. So you're going to be working your butt off the whole game, just trying to not allow him to get close position. But it was one play against Florida State. He got it on the block. Someone tried to steal it, pump fake, didn't put the ball down, kept it high, and just ripped the rim down. And I'm like, I don't know how anyone stops that. That's just, he's blessed to be, this is what he's made to do. Just dunk on everybody without having to dribble and take up so much space. So, but as you said, try to get him in positions where he's going to foul, but he's always in a drop on pick and roll. But create that contact on him first, try to get him off balance. Getting him out of the game is going to be the best way. Like, look at a team like Kentucky. You take Oscar Tshiebwe out of the mix, they're a completely different team. Zach Edey's off the court, completely different team. That's your best bet in trying to upset a team like Purdue.
Let me ask you one more question. You said that you wouldn't front him, someone that size. Is it just because it's too easy for him to kind of wedge you out and seal you too far up the lane and that lob? I mean, I don't know how you help on the weak side when you got a guy that's 7'4". He's going to catch it above you before anyone can get. Is that just what it is?
No, I mean, if you do front, that help side needs to be first off, it's got to be someone that's going to be long and gets there on the catch, like literally. But he's shown that even with that happening, he does not get phased with someone being in his face to still finish right over you. So, you can pick your poison there. Maybe with his hands being so good, and I can't stop emphasizing that, seeing a big man that catches the ball so well, can keep it high, has soft touch, because that is very, there's so much pressure a defense was going to put on you when you get that, and he doesn't get sped up. It's just a matter of if he misses. That's why I would suggest just trying to push him off the block and force him baseline to trap then, because anything in front of the basket, there's no chance.
Yeah, the biggest thing to me is you just can't let him get good position, right? If he's going to hit 12-foot jump hooks, then you just got to live with that, right?
Live with it.
It is what it is. But if you let him get it 4 feet from the basket, like, he's literally putting you through the basket stanchion, and there's nothing you can do. All right, Sweeney, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I do think that Illinois is the team that has the highest ceiling in the Big Ten. But I'm kind of coming around on Maryland, like, being good enough to make a run at a Big Ten title. Is that crazy?
I don't think it's crazy, because I think their starting five is maybe the best starting five in the league. Like, I know they have, like, the bench is questionable. They don't get a ton of scoring, certainly, from their bench, but that starting five is really talented, and it fits extremely well together. right? You have a point guard in Jameer Young who can create offense for himself and ball screens, hasn't even shot it great, but is a guy who we know can make shots. That's the thing that I think is most scary about Maryland is that Jameer Young and Don Carey are both shooting under 30% from three. We know those guys can really shoot it. Like Don Carey shooting 25% from three. Last year, he made 65 threes at a 39% clip. The year before, he shot 45% at Georgetown. Like this guy can really shoot it. The fact that Jameer Young and Don Carey aren't shooting it great right now, and this Maryland team is as good as it looks, that should scare you because Dante Scott's playing at an extremely high level. Julian Reese is playing at an extremely high level. He is not in the conversation yet nationally about the great bigs in this league in the Big Ten. But night after night, I think he's going to prove that he is right there. Maybe not in the scoring department, the way that you would feed the rock to a guy like Zach Edey or Trace Jackson Davis. But in terms of his impact on the game, blocking shots, rebounding at an extremely high level, shooting 77% from the field, like I think he is probably the most underrated player in the conference. And I think when you have two outstanding players like Reese and Scott, a great wing and Hart, and then guards who can make plays and shoot the ball in Young and Carey, and that starting five is dangerous. So I agree with you that Illinois has got a ton of upside because they're deeper and they're probably more talented on paper than anyone in this league.
To me, it's the fact that they're basically matchup proof, right? If you need to have a big five in out there, you could put welcome to the danger zone out there. If you need to have a mobile five, you put point center Coleman Hawkins on the floor, and he's going to go out there and drop triple doubles on you. So they have talent, they have shot makers that can give you different looks. Sometimes they're going to lay an egg because that's just kind of what that Illinois team is going to end up doing at times, but their ceiling is just so incredibly high. And I know that producer Trevor, big time Illini fan, is loving this conversation right now. I